Hello, my name is Jason Garnett, and I am excited to submit this video in support of my application for the Greatness Coach at Middleview Elementary School. As a longtime seasoned educator with over 15 years of experience in the classroom, I feel certain that this is a great next step in my professional career. I think what excites me most about this position is that although most of my teaching experience has been in a college classroom, I have also done substitute teaching in elementary schools and in secondary schools over the years. And I am genuinely so excited by the thought of working with young children as an educator. It's something I've long considered doing, as other teachers telling me that this might be something you'd love just as much or maybe even more. And there's a number of reasons why that's true. I've always adjusted, adapted, and grown as a teacher throughout my career, having to move throughout. Very willfully, I've chosen to move as much as I could in life and lived in a lot of wonderful places, big cities and small towns in every corner of the country. And I've adjusted to a lot of different demographics as an educator, and it's really seasoned me in a very positive way. I feel like I've been very enriched in the diversity of programs that I've worked at in different regions of the country. Another reason that I'm excited about this position in particular is something that I saw on your webpage, on your welcome page, as being the most diverse school in Sun Prairie. This excites me. Having been born in Northwest Indiana in the city of Gary, born in Gary and then growing up in Northwest Indiana, which is basically like the south side of Chicago. It's an extension eastward towards Indiana of what's known as the Calumet region. Because of that, I have been steeped in diversity. I've been exposed to and by diversity as a Mexican American growing up in an Indiana town. And I completely appreciate, I've come to know over the years that I am naturally drawn to others of difference and inquire with a very genuine spirit. I just really do love getting to know people who are different than me, and it's part of this ongoing engaging of diversity that I just love to do. Similarly, I also like the idea that to discover that your school is language rich. I've studied Spanish, German, and French over the years, quite a bit, both at the high school and the college level. I was also once just about fluent, I felt. I spoke every day at work at Disney World, speaking with our visitors, mostly who at that time were coming from South America. And so I was speaking Spanish every day. In regards to feeling prepared for this position, there's 4 foundational concepts, pillars of what's essential for success at any given professional career, and that's education, training, experience, and practice. I've had extensive education working as a student, even up to the PhD level. As an educator, I constantly was receiving professional development training with all sorts of new theories and practices. Also, as someone who's worked in a lot of different organizations in a lot of different capacities, I've received a lot of training, such as at the U.S. Navy, which maybe is the most training-heavy organization in the world, and the most diverse organization in the world, where I served for 8 years as the avionics technician and trainer. I was actually trained to be a trainer in the U.S. Navy on aviation. Then there's experience. You have that sometimes, as in many organizations, you don't know anything about what you're going to do professionally until you actually do it. And so there's so much learning that's going on. And I've worked in all kinds of industries, in all kinds of roles, tremendously diverse, including a maximum security prison, including a dozen or so restaurants that I've worked at, probably more, and the 7 or 8 different colleges that I taught at. But besides education, training, and experience, there's practice. And this is sort of a concept. It's a philosophical concept that one must continue to grow and adapt and employ new ideas, new approaches, alongside best practices, alongside trusted, research-based best practices. One also needs to embrace maybe some new tools. And as a teacher, we all know we are learning all the time. We are always learning to adjust our approach. Always a new student will always challenge you in a new way that requires you to adapt and change and grow as a teacher. And this is really important because it leads into the story I would like to share about students teaching, student becomes teacher. Story of Tommy, and it's a story of, check my time, it's a story of when I received a hard lesson as a teacher, as an educator at LaSalle University, pretty early in my teaching career. I had mostly been teaching College English 101 or Developmental English as they called it at the time, and was excited by the prospect at LaSalle to teach an advanced writing class, English 201, what we may call Part 2, but it's advanced. It's usually sophomores, juniors, sometimes seniors who are waiting too long to take a class on how to do honest, good research. This was something that I learned the hard way to not delay on, and I learned the hard way as an undergrad. Research is a very scary and challenging task. And so I was really excited about being the kind of educator who I thought could empathize and really do a good job of making students do honest research the right way, which is laborious and challenging, partly because it's a heuristic process where one learns by doing, where one will not learn anything if they are not paying attention to the process and how that's changing them, how what they know is now changing, and maybe even what they believe, that maybe their beliefs are changing as they are reading articles or watching videos, what have you, and doing honest research. And you have to take time to process these changes, this heuristic process where you only learn by doing. I thought I was prepared to teach this class with a lot of empathy and a lot of understanding, and I made this a hard class. And it went well, if I recall, the first semester, but then I taught it the second semester, and I don't know what happened there, but my evals came back, and they said that there were negative evals, an increase, an uptick. About 20% of my students said things like I was too hard, I was too strict. Some even said I was mean. And this is what I always do, I look within as a teacher, as an academic person, as an educator. I have to look within when it comes time to criticism or conflict and something not working, or etc. I look within and what do I need to do? How do I need to take responsibility for this? And so it was the summer off after that summer, and I was preparing for classes in different ways and maybe thinking of, but this was on my mind, that I need to change what I do and how I do it. And I came across a quote by General Eisenhower that said, I get a lot more done. I learned that I get a lot more done pulling a rope than I do pushing it. And that just blew my mind. Like, it was clear as day I've been pushing my students. I was pushing them. I felt I trained and equipped and they had everything they need to do. But was I down there in the trenches with them? Did I lead them in battle of research? Did I have compassion for their fear and their doubt? Did I establish myself as someone who could guide them through this? And maybe I had been taught the hard way maybe to do research, like, here, go do this, and I'm going to expect the best because I've given you the best. Well, maybe you need a little more than that, and this is such an important lesson that is so instrumental to who I am as an educator. That is, you need to learn and adapt and look within to address your community. And so I learned that I had been pushing. So the next semester in the fall, I had a student named Tommy. And Tommy had submitted a great diagnostic essay, checking my time, oh my gosh. And so Tommy is in class and he's doing rhetorical analysis. He had submitted a great diagnostic essay. He had sat in front, he impressed me, and we're reading a diagnostic essay, and he gets all upset and he starts groaning and shifting, and then he finally says, this is BS. I'm going to hurry here because I want to keep this under 10 minutes. So he finally says this is BS, and I think I would have handled this differently if I didn't go through this process of looking within and changing what I do and how I do it. And I knew, which is what is probably cliche now, is just ask, how are you doing? And so I let him out of the class. Tommy, come, let's go outside. I'm going to talk to you for just a second. And I said, what's going on, man? And he admitted that he had been smoking PCP all his life. He had tattoos all over his face and head. He looked pretty haggard. He looked pretty old, older than me, I thought, and like someone who was an unusual student in the college classroom. He looked, almost elderly. But he said, I have been smoking PCP all my life, and I cannot do what you're doing. Long story short, me and the chair got together. He was a culinary student. I advocated for him that maybe we can make this accommodation that he doesn't have to do rhetorical analysis and that we could get him through because he's a really good writer. He's a good student. He's actively engaged. And I just maybe need to remove this kind of bar of what a person needs to do to be a professional. And could he be a professional chef without doing rhetorical analysis? And I think that's a pretty fair case. We made that accommodation. Unfortunately, Tommy never returned, and he told me ahead of time, I have another court date, and he never came back. We made this accommodation for him, and I told him, no, dude, you're golden. Like, don't worry. You're a great presence in the classroom. Finally, what I'd like to say is I'm super excited about this position at Meadowview Elementary School, and I feel super confident that this would be a great next step in my professional career. I look forward to learning more about your program, your people, and how you do things there at this really diverse school.